Hi, my name's Richard Drain, also known as Azworth, and today I want to talk to you about food. And specifically, what makes good food good and bad food bad. You see, when I was growing up, no one really ever told me what made good food good. My mom was like, eat your broccoli, it's good for you. Or don't eat that sugar, it's too bad for you. But that doesn't tell me how you're actually supposed to eat or why those things are the way they are. So I'm making this video so you can understand it.
Why good food is good and bad food is bad.
But before we get started, I want to tell you a little bit about my personal struggle with food. You see, I've been fat and thin. Hell, I was 300 pounds at one point. But now I'm actually being more fit because I've actually researched how we're supposed to eat and what we're supposed to avoid. So I want to share this with you so you don't go through the same struggles that I did.
The bad. Sugar.
So we all know that sugar and high fructose corn syrup are bad for us. But I didn't really know why. I saw a YouTube documentary called The Skinny on Obesity, which was by the University of California. Link will be in the description, that explained it. Most people see sugar as being bad for them because it's high caloric food. And while that's not necessarily false, sugar is really bad for you because the brain can't properly process sugar. Sugar is made up of equal parts fructose and glucose. Glucose can be metabolized by the whole body. However, fructose can only be metabolized in the liver. So when we have a lot of calories from fructose, our brain can't use it, so therefore we think we need to eat more food. So, to make it more clear, say you have a Coke, which is loaded in high fructose corn syrup. Your brain is basically like, eat more, I'm not getting enough from this, and your liver's like, what? Dude, you need to like, bleh. The liver uses fructose to replenish glycogen, and that's depleted when we have a lot of physical activity. However, if we don't actually need it, it just gets stored as fat. So, if you eat a lot of sugar, you have a high blood sugar, which means you have a lot of insulin in your system. And insulin can have some unintended consequences when it's in the body in large amounts. One, it stops the regulatory hormone called leptin from working properly. And what leptin does is it controls the body's satiation system. So if it can't work properly because it's being blocked by all the insulin, you will feel hungry and you will feel you need to eat more, even if you don't necessarily need to. Not only that, but what insulin does is it stores sugars that are in the blood. It doesn't just make it go away or equal it out. So you will need to eat more food for the day when you consume a lot of sugar in that day, because you will need to meet your body's daily minimum needs to run. All of these things considered, this makes the body go into starvation mode and makes them want to conserve energy and not do good things like exercise. And since this is the body doing it to these people, they're not just gluttonous, lazy pigs like a lot of people make them out to be. So maybe you shouldn't fat shame people so much. You know who you are.
Animal protein in large amounts.
So, animal protein in large amounts is actually bad for the body. It stops the pancreas from working properly. And you know the pancreas's jobs are to regulate your blood sugar, which we were just talking about, and two, it actually prevents cancer. But if you have a lot of animal protein in your diet, it actually can't do either one of those things properly because it's trying to help the body deal with all the animal protein you've eaten. And as you may already know, meat has cholesterol in it. Now, some cholesterol is good, and actually a form of cholesterol called high-density lipidine, as opposed to the bad cholesterol called low-density lipidine, is actually good for you, and you should have some of it in your diet. But eating meat in large quantities means you get more of the bad cholesterol in your system. And processed meats have been known to cause cancer. So your McNuggets may become a McNightmare. Now, humans only really ate meat when they didn't have the plants. They hunted when all the plants died in the winter. However, they did have regular access to animal protein through bugs. Now, I know your knee-jerk reaction is, I don't want to eat no bugs. Well, I'm not telling you to eat bugs. I'm telling you just to have a little bit of animal protein in your diet, as if you were eating little bugs. And I know that's kind of gross, but you get the idea.
Dairy.
So dairy is the only thing I'm going to tell you to limit severely or not even eat at all. Dairy is actually liquid animal protein, and because it's a liquid, the body absorbs it better than it does meat. So it actually thinks it's getting invaded by foreign animal protein. Not only that, but dairy doesn't even do what you were told it's good for you for, which is increase the strength of your bones. America is one of the largest dairy consumers in the world, but we also have one of the highest osteoporosis rates, or an indicator that we have poor bone health. Basically, to process the casein or animal protein in milk and dairy, you actually have to use calcium from your bones, which is not helping you store calcium in said bones. So, dairy is the most perfect food in the world if you're a baby cow. Aww.
Most plant oils.
During my online research, I found that most plant oils are terrible for you, excluding olive and coconut oil because they do have some health benefits. Most plant oils have to be highly processed to obtain the oil from them and mixed with some not so great chemicals. Furthermore, you're eating something that's pure fat. Obviously it would be bad for you. But I'm not saying that you should have no fats in your diet, because that's what led to the whole sugar craze, which led to the sugar problem. Also, I saw a study that found a correlation between high consumption of these plant oils and homicide. Now, it's just a correlation, but I can see it. Maybe they're just fighting over the food. Bitch, those were my fries!
Processed foods.
When it comes to processed food, there's a lot of evidence to suggest that it is bad for you. They're loaded with sodium, they're not nutritionally sound, and basically we all know that they're bad for us. To kind of think about food, you need to think of it as a system, and try to keep it as close to its natural system as possible, with the exception of some cooking, because that releases different chemicals that are also good for you. If the processed food is nothing like the foods I'm about to describe to you in the good section, then you might want to rethink it. Now, there will always have to be some compromises with chemical food additives, so read labels and basically pick your battles.
The good. Fruits and vegetables.
Ah, fruits and vegetables, the thing we try to ignore but really is one of the best things for us. Fruits and vegetables should actually be the majority of our diet. You see, when we were evolving, we ate foods that were most like these. Low in caloric value, but high in nutrients. Also, we had about 300 grams of fiber a day, compared to the modern 12. Now, some of my astute viewers may realize I said fructose was bad for them, which it is, and that's found in fruits and vegetables. But when combined with the fiber of the vegetable, it metabolizes slower, so we can actually use it and metabolize it properly. Now, to eat your daily amount of vegetables, it almost seemed like you would have to eat like 3 salads and mix them into your other meals. I know that would take a lot of time to not only prepare, but also to eat, because they're so high in fiber. So my personal compromise, remember I mentioned compromises, is juicing. And juicing is good for you to a degree. However, I do have some warnings for you. Okay, first, when juicing, you have to make sure that your juice is really juice, and not something that was juice, but then they added sugar and all these other terrible things in it. You probably would want to find it in the produce section of your store. Also, you need to avoid pure fruit juices because, again, they're just the sugar problem all over again. You need to add fiber back in your juice to try to bring it back closer to its natural system because juicing removes fiber. I suggest you use chia seeds or some other form of seed to add fiber back to your juice.
Plant proteins.
Now, if you're going to be limiting your animal protein, you'll have to get your protein from another source, and that's where plant protein comes in. Plant protein doesn't have the same pitfalls that animal protein does, and actually is very good for the body. Plant proteins can lower the body's pH, soy can lower bad cholesterol, and legumes have been shown to prevent some cancers. Not only that, but it's better for the environment. It takes a lot of resources to raise one cow to adulthood versus growing one thing of beans. To get plant protein in your diet, there's obviously your leafy greens, nuts, nut butters, legumes, beans, and other sources of plant protein. Try to find some that are best for you and that you like to consume on a regular basis.
100% whole grains.
First, let me say that bread is good for you. You should eat it. It's the food that made us artisans instead of people who just worried about getting their daily calories. But you should make sure that your bread is bread and not cake. Most modern breads are loaded with sugar and other additives, that basically making them cake instead of bread. You have to try to get a bread that's not only 100% whole wheat, because if it doesn't say 100%, then it's not whole regular bread, but also doesn't have sugar or other additives to it. One of my personal favorites is the Ezekiel brand bread that's made the way that bread used to be made a long time ago. Now, bread has been getting a bad rap lately, mostly because of gluten. And all gluten is a protein in wheat that comes out when we make bread. It's what helps make dough. And let me tell you that gluten isn't bad for you. The only reason why people who go gluten-free that feel so much better is because they eat less processed foods where gluten is used as a filler. And obviously, if you're eating processed food, you feel terrible. And if you stop doing it, you feel good. The only reason you should watch gluten is if you're one of the 1% of people who actually have a wheat allergy. So, this is the end of the video. I really hope I taught you how to eat properly so you can be more healthy. I know that once I started eating this way, instead of calorie counting or just doing a fad diet, that I really started to feel better and actually start losing weight properly. So you have a good day, good health. This is Azerworth. Peace. You have made it to the outro screen. Please subscribe. This is my very first video, and I hope that you enjoy it. There are more content coming. I hope my next video is actually me showing off my voice and performing for you, so I really hope you'll see that and enjoy it. Please subscribe, like, share, help me spread it around the internet so I can send my message of health and well-being to a lot of people. Thank you so much.